Okay, so let's talk about some of the most famous, most quoted verses in the entire Bible. I mean, you've definitely heard them, you've probably seen them on a poster or a coffee mug, but what if I told you the way we use them is, well, completely wrong? Let's dive in.
Of course you have, right? They're absolutely everywhere. Social media feeds, bumper stickers, you name it. And why not? They're punchy, they're powerful, and they feel perfect for that little dose of inspiration we all need. But what if the inspiration we're drawing from them is the exact opposite of what the author was trying to say? Ah, here it is, the classic. This is the ultimate go-get-'em verse, isn't it? People use this before a big game, before a huge exam, before asking for a promotion. It's treated like this divine blank check that guarantees you can achieve any goal, win any competition as long as you believe. But, and this is a huge but, let's look at the original context. The Apostle Paul didn't write this from some winner's podium. He wrote it from a prison cell. He wasn't talking about winning a championship or acing a test. He was talking about being content, whether he was rich or poor, well-fed or starving. The verse isn't about conquering the world. It's about finding peace no matter what the world throws at you. Okay, here's another one. You can almost picture this hanging on the wall of a brand new startup, right? It sounds like a guaranteed blessing, a divine promise from God himself that your humble beginnings are destined for incredible prosperity. It's the ultimate rags to riches story, stamped with divine approval. Well, here's the twist. Those words, they weren't spoken by God, not even close. They came from one of Job's friends, a guy named Bildad, and he was part of a group who came to comfort Job, but mostly just gave him really, really bad advice. Their whole argument was basically, Job, you must have sinned to deserve all this suffering, so just repent and God will make you rich again. And here's the kicker. God himself shows up at the end of the book and tells Bildad he's wrong. He literally says, I am angry with you. You have not spoken the truth about me. So a verse we often use as a promise of success was actually part of an argument that God himself declared was false. Wild, right?
So these examples just go to show that there are two fundamentally different ways, two different lenses we can use to read these ancient texts.
On one side, you've got what's called the allegorical interpretation. That's where you're looking for a deeper, symbolic meaning that speaks to you personally, right now. On the other side is the historical grammatical method. This one asks a different question. What did the original author actually intend for his original audience to understand? Most theologians lean towards the historical method because it puts up some guardrails, It stops us from just making the text mean whatever we want it to mean. And hey, this debate is nothing new. The great Protestant reformer, Martin Luther, had some pretty strong words about it. He called reading the Bible without any regard for its original meaning monkey's mischief, basically just fooling around and making a mess of things. So, case closed then. The historical way is the responsible way, the right way to read. End of story. Or is it? The truth is it's not quite that simple. And to see why it's so complicated, we have to look at the story of a German theologian named Dietrich Bonhoeffer and a truly impossible choice he was forced to make. The year is 1939. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, this brilliant young pastor and theologian, is safe. He's in the United States, far from the storm clouds gathering over Europe. But back home in Germany, Hitler's power is surging, and the German church is, frighteningly, starting to fall in line with the Nazi regime. So Bonhoeffer is just tormented by this choice. Should he stay in the safety of America, writing and teaching, or should he go back, return to the heart of the danger in Germany, and actively resist the pure evil he saw taking over his country? And then one morning, during his daily Bible reading, he comes across this verse. Now, in its original context, this is nothing special. It's literally just a personal note from the Apostle Paul to his friend Timothy, basically saying, hey, try to get here before winter sets in and makes travel impossible. That's it. No deep universal command. But Bonhoeffer read it allegorically. He felt that simple phrase, come before winter, was a direct, personal command from God to him. Return home, he heard, before it's too late. So he did. He obeyed that personal interpretation, went back to Germany, joined a plot to assassinate Hitler, and was eventually captured and executed just weeks before the war ended. So what do we do with that? A purely allegorical reading, the very thing Luther called monkey's mischief, led to one of the most courageous and moral acts of the entire 20th century. This suggests that maybe the method isn't the most important thing. Maybe it's the framework we bring to the text that really matters.
So what if, instead of getting hung up on a single method, we used a framework? Something like this. 1. We read the Bible as God's big story, not just our little one. 2. We check our own motives. Are we just trying to make the text justify what we already want, or are we truly seeking God's will? 3. We see how the whole story, from beginning to end, points toward the person of Jesus. And 4. We read it all as a message from a loving father to his children.
Now, when you look at it through that framework, Bonhoeffer's choice suddenly makes perfect sense. His reading, though allegorical, wasn't about him getting rich or winning a game or achieving personal success. He wasn't projecting his own selfish desires onto the text. He heard a call to participate in God's larger story of justice and righteousness, even if it cost him everything. And that brings us to the end of Bonhoeffer's story, an ending that doesn't involve some worldly victory, but instead a profound, unshakable faith from inside a cold, dark prison cell. In the winter of 1944, locked away, knowing his execution was coming, Bonhoeffer wrote a poem. He sent it to his family and his fiancée, and it gives us this incredible window into a faith that holds on, even when everything seems lost. He writes about being handed this cup of grief and suffering, and taking it, not with anger, but with thanks, trusting that it comes from a loving hand that is still in control. Now that sounds like someone who truly understood what Paul meant about being content in any and every circumstance. And he ends with this incredible hope. He feels sheltered not from harm, but sheltered by God's presence within the harm. He's waiting confidently for whatever comes next because he knows that God is with him, day and night, always. So, in the end, maybe the most important question isn't just about choosing the right interpretation method. It's about the heart, the motive, the framework we bring with us when we read. So when you open up these ancient words, the question is, what framework will you use?